Good afternoon, and welcome to our What's Buzzing with Georgia Tech webinar series. We thank you for joining us today. We are happy to have GTE Europe do their session and share information and knowledge with our families. We've had a lot of families request this, so we are happy that Allie Crain is here today to share a little bit more about what she does and the experience, and I'm going to let her take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for everyone who's attending today. As Lacey said, my name is Allie Crain, and I am the Outreach Manager for Georgia Tech Europe, which if Georgia Tech Lorraine sounds familiar to you, we did just rebrand to our new name, Georgia Tech Europe. So it is the same thing as Georgia Tech Lorraine. We just have this new name because we are expanding our partnerships within Europe. And so we're really excited to change our name to Georgia Tech Europe. So you'll hear me refer to the campus as Georgia Tech Europe throughout the presentation, but don't let it throw you off if you're used to hearing about Georgia Tech Lorraine or if you've heard about that in the past. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a PowerPoint presentation, and the presentation is kind of a general overview of the Georgia Tech Europe campus. So it will cover information that's relevant for all majors, students of all majors, going any year and going any semester. So if there are particular questions that you have, you can put those in the chat, and I think we'll address the questions at the end. I'm happy to answer any questions after the presentation. So just put those in the chat as you think of them, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, great. Hopefully you can see my screen now. So the presentation is designed as the top 10 reasons that we think that students should study at Georgia Tech Europe and spend a semester on the Georgia Tech Europe campus. So these top 10 reasons are going to give you the details that your student would need to know before they apply to the GTE Europe program. They'll give you information about what the campus is like, what the course offerings are like, what the dorm situation is, the meal plan. So all of that information that you're going to want to know and want your student to know before applying, we'll cover today. And then again, of course, if there's anything that I don't cover that you're curious about, please put it in the chat and I'd be glad to answer those questions. Honestly, I could probably name a million different reasons that I think that your student should study at Georgia Tech Europe, but these top 10 are really going to give you a highlight of the program. The first reason being that Georgia Tech Europe is really unique because it is an actual Georgia Tech campus abroad. It's not just a study abroad program. So I know that Georgia Tech offers tons of different study abroad programs in pretty much every country imaginable through the Office of International Education. But Georgia Tech Europe is unique, and it's one of only 2 actual Georgia Tech campuses abroad. So there's Georgia Tech Europe in Metz, France, and then there's also a Georgia Tech campus in Shenzhen, China now. So we're really proud of these international campuses, and it's a great opportunity for Georgia Tech students because it does allow them to stay fully on track toward their degree and to continue with the Georgia Tech education that they're used to receiving in Atlanta while also having the abroad experience. So it's really the best of both worlds. The student is still a Georgia Tech student on a Georgia Tech campus taking Georgia Tech curriculum courses that count towards their degree and transfer back seamlessly, just as if they had taken them in Atlanta. And that leads me into the second point, which is that all of the courses at Georgia Tech Europe are taught by Georgia Tech faculty, and they are taught in English. So there is no French language requirement in order to study at Georgia Tech Europe, meaning that your student does not have to know any French prior to going to GTE, and they're also not required to take any French courses during their semester at GTE. However, of course, if your student is interested in taking French, whether it be for the first time or if they're already at an upper advanced level of French, we do offer French courses every semester at GTE, and there's really no better time to take a French course than on the French campus, but it is not required. Number 3 is continuing momentum toward your degree. So like I mentioned, any courses that the students take at Georgia Tech Europe, those course credits would transfer back towards their degree seamlessly, just as if they had taken that course in Atlanta, because we do offer the same courses that students need to take towards their degree, whether they take them in France or in Atlanta. Each semester, we offer a different set of course offerings. So since we are a smaller campus than the campus in Atlanta, unfortunately, we can't offer all of the courses that are offered in Atlanta, but we do offer a pretty wide variety of courses for students of most majors. And our campus is open to students of all majors. So as long as your student can fill up a course plan, then they are welcome to attend GTE. But in order to kind of determine what to take during your semester at Georgia Tech Europe, you could visit our website, which is europe.gautech.edu, to see the course list for the semester that your student is interested in. So right now we have the course list for the 2023 calendar year posted there. So for example, if your student was interested in going in fall of 2023, you could go to our website and look at the course list for fall of 2023, see all of the courses that will be offered during that semester, and your student would be able to choose from that course list to fill up their course schedule at GTE. Please note that in the summer semester, students are required to take a minimum of 10 credit hours, and then we recommend a max of 12 credit hours. If they do need to take a bit more than 12, we can typically work with them individually to give them permission for that, depending on the situation. But we do typically recommend 12 so that they still have the opportunity to do some traveling and enjoy being abroad and get to experience different countries and cultures during their time there as well. And then during the spring and fall semester, there's a 12 credit hour minimum and a 14 credit hour recommended maximum. So if your student is interested in GTE and they're not sure how best to fill up their course schedule, please have them talk to their academic advisor. The advisors are super familiar with the Georgia Tech Europe course offerings, and they can be a great resource in helping to determine what courses your student could take to count towards their degree, or if there's a particular year or semester that may be best for your student because there are more course offerings that fit their degree. So they're a really great resource in helping to determine those course questions. Number 4 shows some of our highlighted courses and programs at GTE. The first is the SLS France program. SLS stands for Serve, Learn, Sustain, and this program is offered in the fall semester only at Georgia Tech Europe. And although there is no French language requirement to study at GTE, like I mentioned, if your student wants to participate in this particular SLS France program in the fall, they would need to have taken French 2001 or above. So you do have to be at an intermediate level of French or above in order to participate in this specific program in the fall, because this is an immersion program. So it's language immersion and cultural immersion, all based around sustainability, which Metz is a really great place to learn about sustainability because it is a green city. So as part of this program, the students will take at least 2 upper level French courses during their semester, and they'll also participate in weekly field work where they're going to volunteer with local businesses, meet local business owners in the community, and really get to kind of become a part of the community of Metz and take a little bit of a deeper dive into cultural and language immersion during their semester at GTE. So again, this program is separate from the regular fall semester at GTE, but it still is on our campus, and the students can fill up the rest of their course schedule apart from those 2 required French courses with any other courses that we offer at GTE during the fall semester. We do have a website specific to this program, so if your student would be interested in the SLS program, please visit sls-france.gautech.edu. In the fall and spring semester, we also offer 1 to 3 credit hours of research for students in aerospace engineering, computer science, electrical and computer engineering, and mechanical engineering. So if your student is one of those majors and they would be interested in doing research during their time at GTE, again, they could do up to 3 credit hours of research in one of our labs over on the Georgia Tech Europe campus. So they would work with a faculty member during their semester doing research in those labs. So like I've mentioned, I know I've kind of mentioned different semesters at GTE. So GTE is a year-round campus, meaning that students could go any semester, whatever semester works best for your student. They are welcome to attend GTE. We have programs in the fall, the spring, and the summer. There is no bad time to go to GTE. Each semester is really incredible for its own reasons. The summer semester is a bit shorter in length, whereas the fall and spring semester are a full semester in length. So just keep that in mind when deciding which semester may be best for your student. The summer semester is definitely our most popular semester, and we typically send about 350 students in the summer and about 100 to 150 each spring and fall. So again, if you're not sure which semester would be best for your student, please feel free to reach out, have your student reach out to us directly, and we can give them more information about a particular semester, or have them reach out to their academic advisor who may be able to advise them on which semester may be best for them depending on what courses are offered. This slide shows the location of Metz. You can see it's on the border of Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany. It's about 90 minutes from Paris by train, and it's often referred to as the gateway to Europe, and it truly is that because the location of Metz is such a great home base for the students because the city of Metz itself is such a charming historic city. There's a lot of French history and German history in Metz, so the students could spend all of their time and all of their weekends just within the city of Metz and never run out of things to do and see. But we do know that students typically want to do some traveling to different countries while they're there, and that is very possible from Metz. There is a huge train station in downtown Metz, which is about a 10 to 15 minute bus ride from the GTE campus. And that train station has trains that will take the students pretty much anywhere they want to go in Europe. The students are in class Monday through Thursday at GTE, and then most of the weekends are long weekends, Friday through Sunday, for independent travel. The fall and spring students will also have a week-long fall break or spring break where they can do independent traveling as well. So we've had a lot of students even take some day trips to neighboring countries like Germany. We've had students go to Ireland. We've had students go for the semester and see upwards of 16 countries during their semester at GTE. So it's definitely really possible to do a lot of traveling and see a lot of different countries and experience a lot of cultures while you're at GTE. Number 7 is gaining a global education and perspective. We just like to always point out that studying abroad, whether you participate in a study abroad program or you attend a semester on a campus abroad like Georgia Tech Europe, this is something that adds dimension to your degree. Georgia Tech really encourages students to go abroad if they have the opportunity because this is something that is going to make them more of a world citizen. It shows that they're willing to step outside of their comfort zone and that they can adapt to change and work in a new environment. And these can be really good talking points with potential employers. So we always just like to recommend that if students participate in a program abroad and if they attend the GTE campus, this is something that could go on their resume. Now for the housing information for Georgia Tech Europe, we do have dorm housing at GTE. And depending on the semester that your student would be attending, that will determine which dorm options will be available to them. But all of our dorm options are really great at Georgia Tech Europe. They're all within walking distance to the GTE classroom building. They're walking distance to a local grocery store, a pizza shop, some cafes. Students can rent a bike on campus if they want to bike from their dorm to the classroom building or to the grocery store. But even if they don't, it's again very walkable. Everything's within walking distance. The dorms typically, each student at Georgia Tech Europe has their own room. Some students will share a bathroom or share a kitchen, whereas other dorm layouts, you'll have your own room, your own bathroom, and your own kitchenette. So depending on the semester that your student attends GTE, they will be provided with the dorm options that will be available during their semester, and they will get to let us know their preference. So just for example, in the summer, we typically send about 350 students, so we typically use multiple dorm buildings. And the students, again, would be provided with information about what the difference is, and they would get to let us know their preference. Whereas in the spring and fall, because we do have less students going, we typically use the one main GTE dorm that allows students to have their own room, their own bathroom, and their own kitchenette. But again, students really love each of our dorms. Some students really prefer to share the kitchen or share the bathroom because our dorms are shared with some of the French engineering schools that are in the area. So GTE is located on what's called a technopole. So basically the campus is around a big lake, and also around the lake are other French technical schools. And we do share our dorms with those schools. So especially during the fall and spring, our students may be sharing a kitchen or sharing a bathroom with French students, which allows them to make friends with French students, which is typically a really cool experience that our students rave about. There is no meal plan at Georgia Tech Europe. In the summer, students are provided with lunch on the days that they are in class. But other than that, there is no set meal plan. So typically students, again, will walk to the grocery store and use their shared kitchen or their personal kitchenette to cook for themselves during the week. Or there is also a cafeteria within walking distance to the GTE classroom building and the dorms, where students can get a really nice 3-course French meal during the week for just 3 or 4 euros. So it's a really great cost-effective option for meals as well. As far as the value of GTE, the best way to see the most up-to-date, accurate, detailed cost information for the semester that your student is interested in attending GTE would be to visit our website, which again is europe.gatech.edu. We have a cost page on our website where we've broken down the cost for everything your student will need to consider for their semester at GTE, from out-of-state tuition, in-state tuition, program fees, housing costs. We've even estimated the cost for things like getting a passport if your student doesn't already have one, or getting a visa, which your student would need if they go in the fall or spring semester. And the cost does vary a bit by semester. Since summer semester is a bit shorter, there is a different cost for the summer. And then you can find the difference in costs on the website as well, depending on which semester your student is interested in going. And then finally, number 10 is an expanded worldview and life skills. I always like to tell students that even if they don't know anyone going on the GTE program with them during their semester of interest, that should not hold them back. It's really, really easy to make friends at GTE because, again, it is a smaller campus than the Atlanta campus, so the class sizes are going to be a lot smaller than what they're used to in Atlanta. So it's really easy to get to know all of their classmates and get to know their professor really well. And then also on the GTE campus, the staff plans almost weekly events for the students to hang out and get to know each other and experience some French culture. So it may be a food truck coming to campus, or a night where they learn how to make crepes, or a movie night, or even a trip to downtown Metz to see an opera or a ballet. But there are always opportunities for the students to participate in events and get to know each other. Now for some important details about the application process for GTE. Your student would need a minimum of a 2.5 GPA to be accepted to GTE. If your student is a transfer student or a first-year student and they do not yet have a GPA at the time that they apply to GTE, that's totally fine. They can still apply. Their acceptance would just be conditional on when they do receive their GPA, it being a 2.5 or above. And then your student also cannot have any disciplinary actions on your record. So as part of the application process, we will have to have the Housing and Dean of Students office submit a disciplinary check. So if there are any disciplinary actions on the record, unfortunately, they won't be able to come to GTE. Your application or your student's application will not be considered complete until they pay the $500 program deposit. And please do note that this program deposit does become non-refundable once your student is accepted into the program. If they are not accepted for any reason, they will get that $500 deposit back. But once they are notified that they've been accepted for the semester for which they applied, that $500 deposit would become non-refundable. If something came up shortly after they were accepted and they were no longer able to go for the semester that they applied for, they can reach out to us, and typically we can defer that $500 payment to another semester at GTE. They'll just need to let us know that they plan to go a different semester. The application is fully online. Students can find it on the Georgia Tech Europe website or the Office of International Education website. It's through the Atlas portal, which typically students are pretty familiar with, but if they have any questions at all during the application process, they can of course reach out to our office, and we are happy to help them get that application submitted. As far as financial aid, another great thing about Georgia Tech Europe still being a Georgia Tech campus is that most scholarships and financial aid that students use on the Atlanta campus typically will transfer over to cover their time at GTE. However, we cannot guarantee that for each scholarship or financial aid, so you will need to check with the financial aid office on an individual basis to ensure that your student's scholarship or financial aid can be used at GTE, and to get the details about what requirements may come along with that. So just for an example, I know a lot of students typically use Hope or Zell Miller, and those do transfer over to cover the students typically at GTE. However, while we have a 10 credit hour minimum for students in the summer at GTE, Hope and Zell Miller require that students are taking 12 credit hour minimums to use the scholarship. So again, that's just an example of a requirement that may be in place that you would need to check with the financial aid office on. So definitely check with them on an individual basis, no matter what your scholarship or financial aid is, to make sure that you can use it at GTE and to figure out how. Other scholarships can be found on the Georgia Tech Europe website. We do have an undergraduate GTE scholarship offered to students in the fall and spring. So students can apply if they're going in the fall or spring for the Georgia Tech Europe scholarship, again, located on our website. Other ways to bring down the cost would be applying to be a program assistant, for which the student would be paid hourly for their work. Once they're accepted to the program, they'll be given details about what exactly it means to be a program assistant and how to apply. And then in the fall and spring, students could also apply to be the GTE blogger. This is also a paid position, so the student would be paid hourly for blogging about their adventures at GTE and having their writing published on the GTE blog. So this slide shows our application dates for the upcoming semester. So you'll see our fall 2023 application is open now, and we are still accepting students for the fall. Our spring 2024 application will open very soon. Our summer 2023 application is technically open, although students who apply right now for summer of 2023 will be placed on a wait list, as we have already reached the maximum amount of students that we can accept for the summer semester. So please just know that if they apply at this point, they would be placed on the summer wait list. If you're not already following the Georgia Tech Europe social media pages, I highly recommend doing so. We post a lot of fun student photos and testimonials, as well as any important program updates. And then at the bottom there, you'll see the link to the GTE blog. Even if your student is not interested in becoming the GTE blogger, I definitely recommend having them check out the blog. It's a really great way to read about GTE from a student perspective. We've had past bloggers write about everything from what the classes are like, what the campus is like, where they traveled on the weekends, what they packed, how they budgeted. So there's lots of helpful information there on the blog from past GTE students. And that is the end of my formal presentation. So I am gonna just unshare my screen now, and if there are any questions that have come in through the chat, I would be glad to address those now.
Yeah, we got several. So the very first one, let's see, which airport is the closest one, GT Europe Lux or Paris?
Okay, great question. So we do we don't have any like group flight, so the student would be able to purchase their own flight, and you would be able to fly into whichever airport you prefer. I will say most students do fly into the Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport because we do provide a shuttle from the Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport to the Metz GTE campus on the first day of the program. So a lot of students opt to use that transportation at no charge to the student. So for that reason, a lot of students choose the Paris CDG Airport, but again, it is totally up to the student. If you get a really good deal and you want to fly into Luxembourg and take the train to GTE, you are able to do that. And we will provide students with information on how to get to the campus from the Charles de Gaulle Airport or the Luxembourg Airport, or if there's another airport that they're interested in learning how to get to GTE from that specific airport, they can let us know, and we will provide information to them about how to take the train and get there individually apart from the shuttle.
Great, thank you. This was, I think, written before you got to the slide about food, but my son is going this summer. Is there a cafeteria that's open in the summer for them to use, or do they have to make all their meals? And so I think you kind of already addressed that.
Yes, yes, there is. And again, it's a really cost-effective cafeteria option that a lot of our students use each semester. And even if your student is vegetarian or gluten-free or something like that, they'll just need to let a staff member know, and we can give the cafeteria a heads up, and usually they can provide options for students with specific dietary needs.
That was a question we just got as well, so about food allergies, so that's good to know about that.
Perfect. Yeah, we get that question a lot, and it is no problem. Typically, as long as the cafeteria is given a heads up, they can provide meal options for students with dietary needs.
Will there be organized trips to other countries on the 3-day weekends?
So typically, no. The 3-day weekends are for individual travel, so the students are able to travel wherever they prefer with whomever they prefer. The only organized travel that does sometimes occur at GTE is if a class goes on a field trip, but that would typically be during the week. We've had a professor take the class to the BMW facility in Germany before. We've also had a group go to the Airbus facility in Toulouse. So that would be the only kind of organized trip that may occur. Other than that, the weekends are for individual travel.
And then a question, to see the classes offered for summer 24, what's the best way to find that information?
So you will probably have to wait till a little bit closer to time to see the 2024 course lists come up on our website, as we are still working to finalize the 2024 course list and get the faculty listed there. But I will say typically the course lists don't change too drastically from year to year. So seeing what we offer in summer of 2023 can give you a really good idea of what to expect for summer of 2024, but there may be a few small changes or adjustments, but it's a good way to kind of get an idea.
But that's good to know. Do they provide, will they need to bring their own linen, or is bedding provided?
So linens are provided, as well as basic pots and pans and utensils to use if they have that kitchenette in their room. The students will be provided with a list of what all is provided to them in their dorm, what is not provided to them before they depart. So they will know all of that information before they go. But most of the basics that they would need in their room are provided. Also, when the students arrive, they do have the opportunity to go into a room which is filled with items that students from the previous semester have donated or left for the next group to use. So I know a lot of students, especially summer semester students, will have a fan in their room. Since there is no AC in the French dorms, they may opt to have a fan in their room, especially in the summer, but then they don't want to pack up that fan and take it back home with them. So they'll leave it for the next semester students to use. So when the students arrive, they'll get to go into this room, see what all the students from the previous semester have left for them. It could be an adapter for their chargers, or again, a fan, or like more pots and pans than what the basics they're provided with. It could be textbooks. So they do have the option to get some items from there, and then anything else that the student may need that they didn't pack, and if something is not provided to them. The grocery store that's in walking distance that I was mentioning during the presentation, it's basically like an equivalent of a Walmart here. So they have basically anything you could need during your semester. They have groceries, but they also have clothes, they have bedding, they have pots and pans. I think you can even get your hair cut there. So it's a really huge store with pretty much anything the student would need if they're not provided with it, but they will be aware of what all is provided to them before they arrive.
Great. Did you say that the scholarship is only available for fall and spring, or is it available for the summer as well?
So the Georgia Tech Europe Scholarship is only available in the fall and spring for students to apply for. However, I know that the Office of International Education has some scholarships of their own that students some can be used at Georgia Tech Europe. I don't know the specifics of that, but I would recommend having your student check their website to see if there are any applications that they could apply for a scholarship through the Office of International Education that could be used at Georgia Tech Europe.
I'll see if I can find it and put a link in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Do they have to apply for housing, or are they automatically assigned a room, I guess?
So they have to live in the dorms that we provide, but there's no housing application. As part of their program fees, they're paying for their housing at GTE. So there's no application. They'll just be given information about which dorm options will be available to them, and then they'll get to submit their preferences to us. And from the list of preferences, we'll then assign dorms.
What are the meal plans, and do we have to purchase it in advance prior to them arriving in France, or after? Do you purchase it afterwards?
Okay, good question. So there is no set meal plan. So there's no meal plan that you would need to purchase prior to going or once you're there. Again, summer students are provided with lunch on the days that they are in class, and that's included as part of their program fees. Whereas that is not included in the program fees and not provided in the fall and spring. So other than that provided lunch in the summer, there is no meal plan. It's up to the student to either use the grocery store and cook for themselves in their personal kitchenette or shared kitchen, or to use that on-campus cafeteria, which is pay as you go. You don't pay for a plan.
How do students find out about the Metz ballet schedule or other events located in the area?
So for the ballet, I'm assuming they mean the shuttle. So if that is what you're referring to, the airport shuttle, the students will be given information about that airport shuttle once they're accepted for their specific semester. Is that?
I think they mean like performing arts or anything that's happening, with that. How would they find out about that?
Oh, gotcha. So there is a whole staff located on the Georgia Tech Europe campus in France. So we have staff members working for GTE from Atlanta, but we also have a staff over on the GTE campus in France. So that staff is going to be working to plan these events, and they will announce to the students through the Canvas site, which all of the students will be signed up for. They'll be announcing events. They'll also have posters and flyers around campus for any events that are going on campus. So the staff will keep them really well informed about housekeeping things going on in the dorm building. If there's a bathroom that's going to be closed, the staff will let them know. If there's an event that's going on Friday, the staff will let them know. So that's handled by the staff over on the GTE side and is typically posted in the Canvas site that all of the students are a part of.
And your students are very familiar with Canvas, so they should be all set.
Yes.
Looks like that we've got a prospective parent on as well. So welcome. Hopefully your student decides to come to Georgia Tech. Yay. My prospective son is still deciding about Georgia Tech. Does he have to pay the $500 to apply? So I'm assuming you are referring to the program So I'm not sure. Isn't there a program where students go over if they're coming in the fall?
A first year semester abroad
Yes.
program.
Yes.
And they have different requirements than a regular Georgia Tech Europe student who is not going during their first semester. But they have their own website, so I would recommend checking their website. I think it's fysa.gatech.
I'll see if I can find that too.
Perfect, because I'm not sure if, I believe they also have that $500 deposit, but I'm not positive since their requirements are a bit different.
And most of our programs are going to have that. So I would answer that the answer is probably yes. Most of our programs are going to have because students change their mind quite frequently. So it helps us as programmers plan to do the non-refundable deposit, which again could be used if you changed your mind for like the next semester or next summer, because it helps us kind of plan all the logistics. And we know for sure that you're definitely not just checking a box that you're interested, but you've paid a deposit, so you're pretty much all in, hopefully. So that's kind of why we do that. So I've got 3 more questions. One of the questions I had is, how often do parents or families travel over and meet their students and go on a nice long weekend?
That happens all the time. It's definitely not required. We have families who do go during the semester that their student is there and visit, but we also have families who opt not to. So either way is totally fine. There's not any sort of parents' weekend that you would be missing out on if you weren't able to go visit. But if you did want to go either for a long weekend or again in the fall and spring, the students do have that week-long fall break or spring break. So we do see a lot of families traveling during that time to come spend the break with their student. And it's definitely very common, but there's no requirement for the parent to come or any sort of parent event that they would be missing out on.
So I've definitely had students in my office whose families have gone and they've had, a wonderful time. It kind of got to see where the student was living and have their experience, but also have kind of and for some of my families, it was the first time actually that they had gone abroad. So it was kind of a neat opportunity for them to do that and have their student kind of show them around. And for some, they had traveled quite frequently. So it just kind of depends. Mm-hmm. So another question, when will the orientation sessions for the students going this summer begin?
Those will begin very soon. I know we're still waiting as students are signing up for the wait list. We're having a few cancellations and students being pulled from the wait list. So once we have our set amount of students and all of the accepted students are notified and confirmed, the students will get information about their first orientation. There are typically several orientations that take place, a few before the students depart that are hosted by Catherine Bass in the Georgia Tech Europe office in Atlanta. And then once the student arrives on the Georgia Tech Europe campus for their semester, they'll also have an orientation on the French side as well, where they'll learn about safety and they'll get a tour of the dorm, a tour of the GTE classroom building. They'll be instructed how to use the washer and dryer there, that sort of thing. So there will be several orientations, and the students for the summer should be getting those dates very soon.
Do you have a list of preferred hotels close to campus in case families decide to visit?
We don't really have a list of preferred hotels, but if you would like to reach out to us, I know we have several staff members from our office that have gone to visit and stayed in various hotels in Metz, so we can let you know where we have stayed in the past. We'd be glad to share that with you. We don't have any published complete list, but there are lots of options for hotels in the city of Metz. And if you do want to stay somewhere that, one of our staff members can say, I've stayed there and enjoyed it, you can definitely reach out to us and we'd be glad to share that.
Great. I imagine some people probably do Airbnb too while they're
Definitely,
traveling.
yes. There are lots of Airbnb options in the city of Metz as well, so that'd be a great plan as well.
Will there be get-togethers so the students can meet each other before leaving for France?
Yes. So the students will get together, of course, for the orientations, but apart from that, I do think there is going to be a planned pizza kind of gathering with some of the GTE staff available for answering questions and just for those students to get to know each other. That's what we've done in the past, and I believe that's the plan for the future coming semesters as well. So the students will get information about those types of events. Again, once the list of attendees for their semester is confirmed.
So Allie, one of the questions I have is for students who probably not maybe as much in the summer as it is for a fall or spring, the challenges that they have when they come back, the re-entry process, and are there programs for that or ways to kind of help them kind of work through? I'm back in the US, but I've learned all this wonderful culture and I've kind of immersed myself, and now I'm struggling with being back in the States.
Absolutely, yes. So we are actually working on creating our own kind of reorientation to the Atlanta campus events specific to GTE. But as of right now, a lot of our GTE students, we just kind of give them the information to take part in those programs offered through the Office of International Education. They do already have those sort of programs established, and it's for students who went abroad on any program, whether it's a campus abroad or a study abroad program, and they kind of give the students the tools that they need to take what they learned while abroad and take those experiences and learn how to kind of like present them in a way that would be really appealing, whether they're applying for a job or whether they're just telling a story to family or friends. They can kind of help process those events and also just kind of remind them of the resources that are available on the Atlanta campus that they may not have needed before and now they do. And it's kind of like a welcome back, just as if they were a freshman again. Like, here's what all we have on the Atlanta campus, whether you used it before or you didn't.
That's wonderful. Great. And then it looks like we've got maybe one or two last questions. How do students select their classes for the semester? Is it during the normal time frame of phase 1, phase 2, or is it different?
Yes, so registration for courses is exactly the same as it would be for the student if they were staying on the Atlanta campus. They would register for courses at the exact same time. They'd be given their time ticket as normal. They would go in through their Buzzport as normal. The only difference is they're going to be coded for the Georgia Tech Europe campus instead of the Atlanta campus. So they would only be able to choose courses from the Georgia Tech Europe course offering list and not the Atlanta campus list, but the process would look the same for the student.
Okay, we just got 3 more in.
Awesome.
Let's see. If a student goes in the fall semester, do they get priority for on-campus housing in Atlanta when they return, or do they need to look for off-campus housing? That's a great question.
That is a great question. I would definitely recommend speaking directly to the housing office about that. So have your student reach out to the housing office. I know that for the semester that the student comes to GTE, we do offer a housing cancellation form, which would allow the student to cancel their on-campus housing without any fines or penalties. But as far as then reserving their on-campus housing for when they return, they can work that out with the housing office in Atlanta. It's typically no issue for the students to return back to campus and live in on-campus housing. They would just need to speak with the housing office about how to make sure that they'll have a space and sign up for that when they come back.
For the student independent travel, is there suggestions on itineraries or places where they provided to students to stay? So they're independent. So there's
right. So we don't have any sort of itineraries or lists of places to stay. But again, I would recommend the blog as a really great place to read about where other students have visited and where they've stayed. They have written about, hotels that they've used or hostels that they've stayed in. So that would be kind of a good way to read about what other students have done and where they've traveled.
Okay, we've got a last question. And folks, if you have any other questions, you can reach out directly to Allie or the team at GTE, and they'll be happy to answer your questions. This is another admitted prospect. Do you need to commit to Georgia Tech before applying to GTE, your first year at GTE?
So yes, yes, I do believe that you need to commit to Georgia Tech before you can apply for the first-year semester abroad program. But again, they do have some different requirements than what a student going to GTE later in their time at Tech, not their first semester, would have. So I would recommend checking their website directly and reaching out to them specifically about those types of details, since it is a bit different.
Okay, and I'm sorry, that's one, while we have you, one last question. Just to confirm, let me publish this one. This is about Hope and Zell. Just to confirm, did you say that summer students must take 12 hours in order to keep their Zell?
So in the past, that is what we have heard from students who are using their Hope and Zell. I know that each scholarship or financial aid situation has its own requirements. I have heard from students who have used Hope or Zell and said that they were required to take 12 credit hours in order to use it, because that's what Hope and Zell Miller consider full-time. But again, please check with the financial aid office directly, because they'll definitely be able to let you know any of those specifics, or if that has changed, or there are, other elements to that. So that was just an example of a requirement that may be in place. And I know past students have mentioned that being in place, but I can't speak to the requirements for all of the scholarships, or if that's still the case for every single student, every single situation. But the financial aid office would definitely know the specifics and be able to let you know.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I'm going to send myself live now. So I hope everyone was able to enjoy this, and this was very helpful to you. We've had lots of calls about this, so I'm glad we were able to do this session with Allie. And she does post information in our parent news from time to time, so definitely read our parent news that comes out this week to have more information. All of our campus departments share that information in our parent news that you get emailed. I put the contact information for europe.gotech.edu in the chat just now, in case you want to reach out to someone and have more questions. We are recording this, and I will post it on our website tomorrow. Just go to our website, parents.gotech.edu, click on the Stay Connected tab, and then just drop down to virtual recordings, and all the sessions that we record are there. Our next session is on Thursday with the Career Center at noon, so we hope you're able to join us. And again, the schedule for the link is also on that tab, parents.gotech.edu, Stay Connected, virtual recordings. You'll see the schedule with all the sessions and all the links to join us. Hope you're doing well. Go Jackets. Take care.